Hi everybody, this is the website boy from the websiteboy.com, and today we're going to be talking about CSS. I'm going to give you a short explanation and I'm going to show you exactly what CSS is and how to use it. First of all, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. The word cascading refers to the way that CSS applies one style on top of another. And style sheets, of course, are for controlling the look and feel of your web documents. So CSS is the technology that applies a style to web documents and gives them look and feel, okay? A specific look and feel of the one that was creating it, okay? So that's a very short explanation about CSS. Now let me just show you exactly what CSS is visually, all right? So for example, you can see my website here, the websiteboy.com. If my website did not have anything, all this would be white and all this would be black. All this would have black words, right? Letters and images would be very plain. If I right click on this on Google Chrome and click inspect element, and I go to the site inner div right here, this class here, and I go to the right side of it. I don't know if you can see it. Let me just make it bigger, make everything bigger so you can see. On the right hand side here, and I click off, you can see that I just checked that color off. I took it off and now it's all dark. If I go back to body and I take the color of body off, everything turns white. And then my website starts looking a little plain and not very attractive. If I refresh it, okay, it's gonna come back to the original color and style. All this on the right side is styles done with CSS. All right, how do we use it? How do we start using CSS in our HTML documents? All right, that's the question that I'm going to answer right now. Let's open an editor. Okay, so now that we have an editor, now to write CSS you need an editor. If you're on Windows, don't use Notepad. A lot of people use Notepad. Use Notepad++. If you want to use something free, go to their page here. You can Google it and download it right here on the left side. It's a very good editor. It's free and it's a lot better than a lot of editors out there that are expensive. For if you are in a Mac, you can use something called Text Wrangler. It's free. Okay, go to their page and download it right here, free download, and it's very good. Okay, I use Sublime Text. It's a paid version, Sublime Text, and the version I'm using right now is 2. They recently came out with a version 3. I think it's in beta right now. Right here, version 3 is in beta, but it's around $100, I believe. If you click on buy, it should show you how much it is. $70. Okay, it's a very good editor if you are a web developer already. But if you, chances are you're not a web developer if you're looking at this course right now. And so I suggest you can try for 30 days and use it to follow along. You know, they all mostly all do the same. They just have different features. So for example, I have an editor right here and I want to create a new file. Okay, so I'm going to go on top and say new file, right? Now, in order for us to use CSS, we need to use an extension called .css. So for example, I write something here called body, open in curly bracket, and I want to save it. Control S or Command S. All right, I'm gonna save it in this folder called CSS. I'm gonna name this file style sheet.css. Now, as you can see, my editor changed the color of this word body, this element, in red because it detected that it's CSS now because I put that extension there. Let me just make it bigger so you can see it. In order for us to use this style sheet, we need to have an HTML document, and for that we're gonna create one. So Command or Control S, Shift S is gonna create. It's gonna do a save as, and we're gonna create a new document. So we're gonna say new dot HTML. We need to use that extension. If you don't know HTML, I suggest you look at a video tutorial that I got on YouTube. Go to my website. You can click on the right side. For Mac, it's going to ask you to use the HTML extension. If you want to use it, of course we do. And now it converts this to HTML. Now this is a regular HTML document right here. Now don't get scared about that little shortcut that I do. This is a plugin that I use called Emmet. If you go up and erase it, if you do an exclamation mark and you press tab on Emmet, it will do that for you. I do have a tutorial also showing you how to install Emmet. If you are interested, make a comment on the YouTube video and I'll give you the link. Or you can just go to my channel and search for it, Emmet. Okay, that's the name, EMMT, like this, EM. All right. So now that we have an HTML document, how do we use CSS to style? First of all, let's just make an element that says, let's just make a paragraph. Okay. Let's just write some gibberish words here, and we're just gonna save it. We're gonna go to that specific file. We're gonna open it on the browser. So you can see on the browser, we don't have any styles here on this HTML document. This is how a default HTML plain document looks without CSS. All right. Of course, we don't want this. We don't actually like this site, right? So let's go back to our editor. In order for us to use CSS, we need to link it, and the preferred way of linking it is through the head. In the head, I mean this tag here, the opening and before the closing head tag. We need to link it by creating a link tag with an attribute of rel, which means relation, and an href for the source of where you're getting that file from. In this case, we're gonna have the file in the same. Let me just double check it. It's in the same folder, okay, and it's gonna be called style sheet. Style sheet.css. Usually it's style.css. But in this case, we're doing it with style sheet.css. Okay, and we're gonna hit Control or Command S to save it. And now that our style sheet is linked, we are going to drag it to our editor or open it, depending on what you're using. And we have a body tag here. Now it doesn't do anything right now because we have to set in some properties for that to work. Let me just put this in. Make it half of the screen so you can see it. All right, so now that you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to put some styles in the body of the document. How do you know what the body of the document is? Right now, if you are, I'm in Google Chrome, all I have to do is right click on it and click on inspect element. All right, now this is gonna give me the DOM. All right, and the DOM is just the structure of an HTML document, the DOM tree they call it. And it usually have an HTML tag on top, right? The doc type right here, and then the HTML tag that ends below, the head, the body, and some content in between, which it could be an H1, P elements, whatever images, whatever you have. So this is the body tag right here, and I want to change the color on the body tag. First thing I do, if I wanted to do it on inspect element, I could do it right here and change the color. And the inspect element, we actually is very good to learn. Actually, this is the way that I learned how to. The first way that I learned was reading a book, but that's old-fashioned. Right now, all you need to do is go here. I'm gonna show you where to go. I'm gonna give you a website where to learn all the attributes, because that's all you need for HTML to learn how to for CSS. I'm sorry, what the names of the properties, so that way you can do whatever you want with the document. And besides the learning the name, you need to practice a lot. So anyways, if you type here, start typing B, it's gonna give you all the properties starting with B that you can use for this specific document. And this is the style section here. So if I do B and I click on tab, okay, it's gonna give me that background property. Alright, it's gonna write it for me. Okay, and now here I can even write the color in words. All right, so for example, I want to color red. Look at that, red. All right, now in hexadecimal, I like to do in hexadecimal. Hexadecimal is a code that the computer will understand, your browser will understand. There is a number. that is a number basically with words with letters in there that translate into color. All right, so for example, let's just create one here. I got pound, and this is how you do it. You first create a pound, and then you write some letters and sometimes numbers, but in this case we don't have any numbers. We can put a 1 there, but in this case we don't want to, and just create this plain grayish color. And if I click on the document, as you can see, I have a little box right here. Let me just make it bigger so you can see it. This little box here, now that I created a hexadecimal, I can click it, and Google Chrome will give me this nice box here that I can use to use any color I want on this document. Now let me just get out of here. I think it's too big and I can't use my bots to show you. Let me just make it smaller. There we go. Now I can use my bots. If I go ahead and click on it and I drag it, or I can just click on it in any specific way, I can change the color of the background. Alright, let's leave it like this. Click on the document again. Now I want to make all the words on this document white. All I have to do is type in what color, and then let's do a just with the words white. And I already changed the document into the letters into white, as you can see here. Now you can do a lot of things. Now that we don't, if you get out of this document right now, what's going to happen is you're going to lose all your styles. This is just a live preview of how your document looks with inspect element on Google Chrome. What I usually do is I copy this style right here, right click on it and copy it, and transfer it to my permanent style sheet and paste it in there. And now I save it, and then if I go here and refresh it, the style is going to stay. But look what happens if I didn't have this here, right? If I didn't have it, I save it and I refresh it here, I lose everything. I come back here to my document and I paste it, save it and refresh it here. It's back again. All right. Now there are many ways of using CSS, but this is the best way. Linking it to your external document. That way you don't have your CSS. The other way, I'm going to show you the other way. I don't suggest you use it. You only use it when you really need to. The first way that I'm going to show you is how to, let me just comment this out. Oops. I'm going to comment this sheet out. Jesus, I forgot it right here. I didn't forget, it's just I use so many editors sometimes. It's kind of a... Anyways, if I want to use CSS on this right now, if I save it and I refresh it here, I lose all my style, because now right now the document is not linking to anything. So if I want to create some CSS for this document, I could do it in another way, creating a style tag, opening and closing style tags. On the before the head, right before the head, I created the opening and the closing for a style. And then here I can write the same thing that I wrote here. So I can just copy this, bring it back here, and paste it. Save it, refresh it, and I get my styles back again. All right. So that's the second way of doing this. The third way of doing it. All right. Let me just take this off. Now if I save it now and refresh it here, and if you're wondering how to do refreshing with my keyboard, it's Control R or Command R, okay? And the same thing with here, Control S for saving or Command S. So anyways, the third way of doing this is to apply directly to an element. And the way we do that is by writing an attribute here on this element called P, right, for paragraph, and it's going to be style. This is how you start always your inline styles. Equal sign, double quotes, and then the style that you want for that specific element. And for this one, we're gonna color red and then semicolon. Always end your styles, your properties with a semicolon, and you separate the value of this property with a colon. Okay, save it, refresh it, and now the words are in red. This is the third way of doing it, applying CSS. Okay. Now there are many ways you can do it. The next thing that you can actually do with CSS, I'm going to show you right now, which is really cool. For example, you have this paragraph here, And let's create another paragraph. Copy, and I'm gonna paste it down below. And I'm gonna paste another one. For example, let's say you want to target all this paragraph and you want to make it a different color. Let's just save this and refresh it so we lose all our styles, and I can show you what I mean. So for example, we have all these styles here on the side. Let's make this smaller. Let me just break the screen in half so you can see what I'm doing. All right. Okay. Now that you can see my HTML on the right and the CSS and my browser on the left, I'm going to show you. Okay, so now let's say, for example, let's go to my style sheet. It's not linking right now, but let's make it link by uncommenting this. And that's another thing that I should show you right now, how to comment on CSS. You first write something called the symbol. It's called less than, and then an exclamation and two dashes. Now you need to close it. If you don't close it, it's gonna comment all this off, meaning that none of this stuff is gonna appear on this document. And I'm gonna show you. If I save this and I refresh it here, everything's gone. Okay, so now I need to close it here on the right side by putting two dashes and a greater than symbol. All right, but now I don't want to actually do that. I need to link it again, so I'm gonna take that off and I'm gonna save it. Now I'm linking, and I need to take these styles off and save it and refresh it here, so I don't have no styles here. Actually, let me just do it again. There we go. So now, very cool, I'm going to show you something very cool. If you want to target all this paragraph, all you have to do is write a P, open and curly and close curly brackets, and just write the color, semicolon, and refresh it, and they're all red. Now another cool thing that you can do is, if you want to target, let's say, this middle paragraph here, all right, because this would target every paragraph that you write on the page. We don't want to do that. We want to make this a different color, right? So how do we do that? How do we just target this one here? Well, CSS also has something called IDs. We need to actually place an ID on this specific element that we need to target. So this is the second paragraph, right? Because we got one here and 2 and 3. So this is the second one. We need to put an ID, and this is how you put an ID on the HTML document. ID, equal sign, double quotes, and then you can name your ID. Second, and then I'm going to put a capital P-A-R-A for paragraph, second para, and I'm going to copy this, Command C or Control C, take it back to my document. I'm going to paste it right here. And before the word for IDs, the way that CSS detects an ID is by writing the pound sign symbol. This is how, as you can see, my editor already colored this. So it's very smart knowing that this is actually a CSS property. Now we open and close curly brackets. And now we're going to target, this is the name of this second paragraph now. It's second para. And we're going to put the same thing as above, but with a different value, blue, semicolon, save, and refresh. Now the reason why this did not work is because I never saved this side here. I'm going to Command S or Control S and then refresh. As you can see now, we target the blue paragraph in the middle. All right, there's a whole bunch of things that we can do, and I suggest, if you want to learn about all these different properties that about CSS, and that's what you need right now. Besides watching this video, you already know what CSS is now. You need to get familiar with the attributes, properties. I'm sorry. Go to this website link here called. I'm gonna give it to you in a bigger so that way you can see it. It's w3schools.com/css ref. And if you go to that site, this site is very good to learn CSS. If you scroll down, it's going to give you all the properties of CSS. I suggest you open a blank document and start practicing all the CSS properties. There is unlimited things that you can do with CSS. And if you know HTML, you need to kind of know CSS, because the whole purpose of having a web document online mostly is to have a kind of a presence online that looks good, right? So that's one way of doing this, guys. If you like the video, please like it. If you want to subscribe to it so you can get more videos on different stuff about CSS or HTML and other web development courses. Thank you so much for watching, and this was the Website Boy.